FM 95.1. Voice of the people, number one. News and sports, talk all day. Keeping rivers on the way. Not just the station, we are the station.
Education never ends, and we believe it starts even way earlier than most of us think. On Andre Gorgie, every Tuesday, 1 to 2 p.m., we unravel these various building blocks and its challenges that make you and I better versions of ourselves. Andre Gorgie on Today 95.1 FM.
Good afternoon, amazing Port Harcourt people, amazing River State folks, Nigerians, and to all of you listening to us everywhere the world over. It's your premium talk station, Today 95.1 FM, and from now we have like 50 minutes to have a great conversation around education, because it's Andra Gorgie. Of course, it's the 28th day in the month of July. I can't wait to see the back of July. By the way, my name is Dawn Wilson.
I'm Queen Chima. Welcome to Andra Gorgie. And today would be having a very important conversation. I said that to mean that you stay here, right? You listening, stay with us and participate. And you can do that by joining us online to drop your thought. That's on Instagram, it's Today FM 951. Facebook is Today 95.1 FM. YouTube, you can watch us live there today in 951, and then connect to us on our website www.todayfmlive.com. Then as we further the conversation, you can also drop text messages to 0701 933 9962 or call the number 0810 9510 951.
All right. So, as you well know, it's Andra Gorgie, education and everything in between. And yes, today it's my pleasure to introduce you to somebody, well, not so old, not so new, just somebody in between. And she's here to talk to us about something quite technical and yet not so technical. We have Andy Henry, who's a speech therapist and behavior analyst specializing in children with autism. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so what do we care? Well, it looks like the educational sector is beginning to get a facelift. Okay, we can call it a facelift. Tunji Alausa and his downline started with smart schools, and I'm still reeling from that. But now they've decided to take quality education to a whole new level. They're looking at inclusive education, education for every Nigerian child, which would be a child without learning disabilities and children with learning disabilities and maybe even, physical disabilities of any sort. And so to give kids with disabilities a fighting chance, quality education, they've come up with these three new tools: National Minimum Standards for Inclusive Education, Implementation Guidelines, and an Early Identification Tool. So right out the gate, madam, let's start off with the first one. What exactly is the National Minimum Standards for Inclusive Education?
Well, it's a policy from the federal government, since we have the UBEC, Universal Basic Education, It's basically a benchmark to guide schools on implementation of the policy. Now we're looking at a situation where in the school system, they are pushing for inclusion, which is a very welcome development.
All
I
right.
was excited when I went through the policy. I was very happy because in Nigeria today, there are some children who are denied admission.
And by some, we mean kids with disabilities,
Yes,
right?
even
All right.
some adults, they are
Okay.
denied. But for the nursery and primary level, those schools, you can't just really hold them responsible because there are other acts, but it's not very strong like in other countries where if you deny my child, I can sue you.
Okay.
And then there's also the situation of lack of professionals in the system. We have professionals, but they're just very few in number. So I think this national special and inclusive basic education minimum standards is just talking about every school should have what it takes to educate children with disability,
Okay.
whether it is private, whether it is government school, whether it is in the early years, whether it's in the primary, whether it's in the secondary, just the basic education. Every school should have an idea of what it takes to educate this set of children.
So from what I see here, the let's call it the barest minimum every school should have, public or
Exactly.
private, and it looks like they're covering governance, school buildings, accessibility,
Yeah.
teacher skills, curriculum adaptation, assistive technology, learner assessment, safeguarding, quality assurance. Would you say that UBEC has basically covered all their needs to be covered when a school is dealing with a child with special needs?
Yeah, looking at what they've covered, I think to an extent, I can't say 100%,
Okay.
but to an extent, there's one of the things I saw that really got me, like the accessible buildings, trams, handrails, accessible. That one is very, very wonderful because when I went through my training, one of the things they told us is the physical environment.
All right.
A child with disability, like we sometimes, because of the environment, we disable a child. Not basically that child is disabled, kind
All
of
right.
like a child with wheelchair. The child is not disabled, but we can make the child disabled in the sense that the environment where, okay, I have a beautiful school, there are no ramps for the child to move.
Yeah.
So for them to include this means that it's very thoughtful. We're not just looking at, okay, let's go and educate the children. How do we make the environment comfortable? Then there is this assistive
Is already like with children with special needs, how learning is for them, because inclusive education, I saw that is one of the SDGs and it's important. So I don't know how far we have got or we have gone as a country. Where are we at? So after that, we want to look at how this can become harmonized, because it's good that the universal basic education is saying this is what they have planned out.
of this dysgraphia because these ones are neurological issues.
All right.
They happen in the brain, so you can't see it. But if you see a child with let's say spinal bifida, that one at the
Okay.
back,
Yeah.
you will say, oh, this child has some, he needs support. If you see a child with cerebral palsy, those ones that waddle when they walk, you say, oh, this child needs support. But there's a dyslexic child in your classroom that can't read and can't spell. So rather than, saying this child is stubborn and this and that, you should now say, okay, what do I do? How do I help this child? You begin to call, you go to your administrator, you go to the principal. They can now escalate it even to the state level. So that is what UBEC has done. I wish they can implement it to that level. It will get down to even the minder in the classroom. You should be able to know. And this is what we've been advocating. Do you understand? Let everybody be aware. In the school system, some teachers say, oh, I don't want to be a special need educator. We're not saying you should be, but have an idea of what it is, because you are the one that you're the first contact with the child.
Yeah.
You'll be the one to now raise an alarm and say, oh, I think this child needs assistance. What do we do? Then the stakeholders will come together.
So maybe we should even have the conversation beyond what UBEC has come up with. And since you're an expert and you've been in this field for how long? I don't, maybe over a decade.
Since I started teaching, I've been teaching for 14 years.
Okay, over a decade.
And the basic thing that drew me into special education was I saw some children struggling, and I began to ask why.
All right, so you're the best person for this conversation, obviously. So maybe we should look beyond the policy now, and you're talking as a stakeholder and would ask these questions as how this will work. Because you just stated the cadre, you started from UBEC to the SUBEC, to local government, to administrators, teachers, you even included minders, everyone.
Yeah.
So, and for a parent who has a child with special needs and has experienced a lot, and maybe some of them can afford sending their children to schools where they are adequately attended to, there are some who cannot. And it's expected that for quality education, inclusive education is part of it. And so in Nigeria, we should not be thinking of situations or schools where these children with special needs are not adequately attended to. Do you really see this policy working out effectively? If it would, how long would it take for it to? And what are those loopholes that should really be covered to ensuring that it works? UBEC says SUBEC and every state government should ensure that there's adequate funding. And I thought about that, and I thought it was interesting for Rivers State because education in the budget is number 2. So it means that SUBEB in Rivers State will be able to target, they'll be able to target a lot of money to special needs and also training teachers and all. What are those loopholes really that may truncate this? Because we may come back 2 years after and another administration comes with, we are back to this again, trying to ensure that this policy works.
Okay. Before you asked the experience out there, I don't want to say everything on air. It was a terrible experience.
Okay.
Do you understand? And then let me start with one of the things that can truncate this is our belief system. Would it also taught us the culture, the religion, the belief system? Do you understand? Because I have an autistic child now, for instance. I wouldn't want to expose the child. I wouldn't want to bring out the child because of what the society will say.
All right.
Then instead of me to look for a professional assistant, somebody is telling me, go to so place, they will pray for him, he will be fine.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So that is a major issue for implementation. Then coming